let's be real, like with this level of variegation, it's like, yeah, fascinatingly fast. It's incredibly fast. This is gonna get the Overachiever Award. This plant is just extra. It's been a busy month and I had to choose between a Hoya favorites video or a houseplant collection favorites video. And I decided to choose my Hoya favorites. You know how much I love Hoya and I know how much you love Hoya. So I decided to do a Hoya favorites video. If you really want to see a houseplant favorites video, let me know and put it in the comment section down below. If I get enough comments requesting it, then I just might make one. If not, all my Hoya lovers, give this video a thumbs up to let me know that you are here. If you're new, hi, I'm Stephanie. I love talking about my houseplant collection, especially my Hoya collection. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my favorite Hoya for the month. And usually I like to divide my plants into 4 major categories. My plant just entered the room. First, I like to talk about the comeback. So a plant that struggled but is making a comeback, is doing much better and is recovering. Next, I like to talk about my fastest grower. So just like it says, the plant that has just been pushing out a bunch of growth as fast as possible. Like, wow. The next plant is the show off. So the plants that, you know, sporting beautiful foliage, variegation, just doing the most. Next, I will share the peduncle pushers. So this is a new category that I added last month. Now that we're getting into growing season, we're getting Hoya that are just starting to push peduncles. This is my first growing season with mature Hoya. Last year, I had a lot of new Hoya. I just had started collecting and I had a bunch of cuttings from January. So by the time we came to April, they were still pretty juvenile. This year, I have more mature Hoya. So I'm seeing more and more peduncles and I'm excited to share it with you. And lastly, I'm going to talk about my MVP, which was hard this month. I'm still torn between a couple of them, but I don't know. We'll see what I pick at the last moment. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Here's a plant that I never thought would be a comeback. I mean, maybe I've already had it as a comeback in a favorites video, but I just never thought it would, you know, become this fantastic. And this is a Hoya Way Cloudy Sky. This plant was given to me by Jenna in her frustration. She was just so frustrated with this plant. It just wasn't growing. It was just pushing runners for her. And so she asked me if I wanted to give it a go. And I did. I took it and it did the exact same thing for me that it did for her. It just pushed out a bunch of vines. I guess I should call it vines, but instead of runners, because that's what Hoya does. But to me, if nothing comes of it, if it doesn't grow, then it's a runner because nothing's happening. I eventually decided to chop it up, prop it in water, put some in Molly's aeroid mix, and it performed beautifully in water. And then I potted it up. I believe this is Molly's aeroid mix and it needs a little bit of water. And ever since then, it has been growing beautifully for me. It's not like the fastest Hoya. It doesn't grow very quickly. I think that's just the way this plant is. I think that's just this growth style of this plant, but it is beautiful and I'm glad to have it and I'm glad that it's doing something. Ever since I put it in a self-watering pot and I keep on top of the watering. So I find that with slower growing Hoya, they don't use the water reservoir as quickly. And so it's really important to either refresh the reservoir or keep topping it up, because I've said this before, the water gets stale and so the plant will either slow down its growth or stop growing entirely. Ever since I started refreshing the water and topping it up, this plant has been doing much better and growing much faster. This was actually, was it this one? No, this vine was actually much longer and I cut it and stuck it back in here because I'm trying to get a full pot. I only did this a few days ago, so if I tug, it's still really loose. But the plant has a lot of adventitious roots. So if you look along the vine here, you're going to see some white little bits sticking out. And these are roots. When I see these on a Hoya, then I feel pretty confident just chopping them and sticking them back in, because that means that they're going to grow much, much faster, or they're going to root, I should say, much faster. But anyways, this is a plant that you don't see a lot in a lot of collections, a lot of videos. I think there was a moment when it was there and that moment has passed. But Now I'm bringing it back. Quite unusual. It has these very hard leaves, and it has sort of a jagged feel around the edges, and I really like how they're quite round. I'm a sucker for round leaves. I like just the shape. I just like that shape, especially in my plants, and it's just so appealing to the eye. The fastest grower this month will not surprise you, because if you've seen my fast Hoya video, then you would have seen this plant. And this is my Hoya Nickelson New Guinea Ghost. It looks a little different because I repotted it recently. We'll get into that. So the Hoya Nickelson New Guinea Ghost is a very fast plant. It is fascinatingly fast. It's incredibly fast. And what's interesting is that when I started off with this plant, I thought it was far from fast. It was anything but fast, in my opinion. I think if you're a beginner collecting Hoya, this plant I think can be a little bit challenging for you. In the beginning, it was very hard for me. It was on my hard Hoya list. And I think a lot of people in the comment section were like, really? Is it? And I'm like, for some reason it was. I couldn't figure it out. I think now I have figured out this plant. So if you're struggling, I've got you. So this plant, it is fast and thirsty. These are the two things that you need to know about this plant. So with Hoya that are like this, thin-leafed Hoya, very thirsty, very fast Hoya, I think semi-hydro is the best way to grow these types of Hoya. So I have mine growing in pond. Well, this is my homemade pond. Before that, I had it growing in Lechuza pond, and that is when that plant just blew up for me. It's a plant that also likes to be root bound. So the tighter the pot is, the faster this plant will grow for you, because Hoya is just like that on a whole. They like to have tight pots. They like to feel the parameters of the vessel that they're in, and that's when they start to push out new growth. I explain all of this in my Grow Your Hoya Fast video. You could check that out if you want all of my best tips on how to speed up the growth of your Hoya. If all else fails and you're still struggling with this plant, I would say to start it all over. So remember I mentioned adventitious roots. This plant is a fantastic rooter. It has a lot of those little tiny little bits, these tiny little roots sticking out, just like I mentioned for the previous plant, roots sticking out on the side. So because of that, especially when you see if your cutting or your plant starts to produce those, you can propagate it in water. So I chopped a few cuttings off of this plant because it was just so out of control. I took a couple cuttings and I put them in water, and I kid you not, in 3 days, it was already rooting up. I was fascinated at how quickly it was pushing out roots. Again, I think if you're struggling with this plant, ooh, I see some yucky stuff. I see some pests on it. I knew it had pests. One of the best things you can do is restart it. And it can be scary, but don't worry. It's so fast, it'll just blow up for you. Anyways, I had no choice. I had to repot it. It was drying out in 3 days. I had to keep watering it, and when this plant dries out, which is something it loathes doing, all the new leaves on the vines will immediately yellow and fall off. And then I knew it was really bad when I was starting to lose older leaves. So usually I don't lose older leaves on this plant, only new leaves when it's very dry, when I've let it go too far. But when it starts losing older leaves, it's like, it's really root bound. I'm featuring it now, not just because it's literally the fastest growing plant, but since I just repotted it a few days ago, I know it's going to struggle a little bit for the next couple of weeks. So I'm just going to feature it here before it's, before it officially boards the struggle bus, and enjoy it while it's nice and full and beautiful, and just capture it in this moment. It probably would benefit from a bigger trellis, but I think I actually really like this full look. There we go. I think this might be better. Too much of a distracting background. I think this is better. Do you like seeing pests? If not, you can fast forward. But if you want to see what pests damage looks like, can you see that here? So I've got a little bit of something growing here, something developing here. So instead of treating this plant only, which I will treat it, but I think for me, the best way to treat pests is this way. Bye, bye, bye. That's what I do. Make sure I dispose of that very far away from the rest of my collection. Especially on fast growing full plants like this, I think chopping off an infested leaf is the best way to go rather than trying to treat that leaf. Of course, I'm gonna treat the whole plant, but a heavily infested leaf definitely has eggs inside of it, especially if it's thrips. I would rather delete that one because that will significantly reduce the number of pests that are going to reappear in the next couple of days. So I'm eliminating sort of a ground zero, and then we'll see what happens in the next few days. But what I'm going to do as well is give this another rinse off. I washed it after I repotted it, so I'm gonna wash it again, all of the plants that I share with you today, and then give them a nice spray down with my horticultural oil, and then we'll see from there. But this is one of my fastest growing Hoya for the month. I forgot, I had another fastest grower to show you. I totally forgot about this plant. This is my Hoya Coriaceae Silver. That's another one of my fast growers. This plant is so fast, so fast. It is incredible. It's incredible. Once you crack the code on this plant, you need to watch out. The cost of this plant should really go down because it is one of these very easy to grow, fast growing Hoya. And this started off from one leaf, and I think I maybe had it as a comeback in a previous video, but literally it has, once it's taken off, once it's sort of established, it feels out its roots, it's getting consistent light, you're refreshing, you're topping up that water, you're staying on top of it. This plant is gonna grow so fast for you. It's pushed out these leaves, and I wanted to cut it to sell a cutting of it, but then these leaves started growing right here. And again, they're still a little bit soft. They haven't hardened off yet. I'm waiting for them to harden off so then I can snip, but then I'm pretty sure that by the time these harden off, it would already push these new leaves out here. And I have some more of this plant, like, trust me. So the first one is growing in my DIY mix, and I want to have another version of this plant growing in pond. Like, I want to have a semi-hydro version of this plant because right now I'm trying to see which type of substrate grows that Hoya faster. For a long time, I believe that semi-hydro was the way to go for this plant. And so, no. Yeah, I'm going through an infestation. I thought it got a little bit better, but I recently filmed my 30 days of Hoya video. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you may not know, but I'm filming a 30 days of Hoya session where I'm going to talk about a different Hoya every day for 30 days in shorts. So I'm going to put it in YouTube shorts. I'm going to pop it up on my Instagram as well. And so, yeah, you may want to subscribe so that you can be here when I post these videos. But anyways, all of my Hoya sort of came out a few days ago and they sort of got mixed. So stuff has been spreading from one to the other. And so I'm spotting things on them that wasn't there a few days ago. This is my chance to sort of clean them out. But yeah, so here we've got some new leaves here. This one's growing really nicely. And then I chopped up these plants. So you may be wondering, Stephanie, they're still so small. How are they fast growing? It's because I took a bunch of cuttings. Let me show you. So these are the cuttings that I took from these plants. So which plant did I take these cuttings from? I can't even tell which plant I took it from because I think I took it from the one in semi-hydro. I took a bunch of cuttings. I think I took 3 and I popped them in here. And look at that. Look at that. All of these new leaves, 1, 2. Look at all these tiny little new leaves on here growing so fast. It's a really fast growing Hoya if you hydrate it. It just likes to be hydrated. It's so nice. So I try to keep this topped up. I don't want it to run out of nutrients, oxygen. I don't want it to, I don't want the roots to die in here. But my goal is, I think I'm eventually going to put all of these with the one in pond that you just saw and just have a big bunch growing in pot. I'm going to put them all in a bigger pot, in a bigger self-watering pot, and just have them all growing together so I can get a nice full version of this plant pushing out this super long vine. It does like to push out these vines. Do not chop them off, especially for this Hoya. Don't chop it off. If you've had the vine bare, not growing for like 6 months, nothing, okay, yeah, give it a go. But if it literally put out the vine. It's been a couple of weeks, leave it, because it will start to grow. The new leaves are going to come from it. All right, so we've shown the comeback, the fastest grower. It's time for the show off. The show off for the month will be our introduction into the peduncle pushers. Let me show you. This is my Hoya Patricia. It is literally one of the fastest growing Hoya in my collection. It's definitely a plant that pushes out foliage before roots. You know, a lot of Hoya like to go down and focus on their roots before they push foliage. This one will push foliage. It'll push peduncles before it bothers about roots. Like all my other Hoya, by the time they get to this point, they've already significantly outgrown their pot, and this plant has not. But anyways, this plant, oh my goodness, like look at this. Look at these blooms. I cannot take much credit for how many peduncles are on this plant. I mean, it has produced significantly more peduncles since I've had it, but when I got this plant, it was already a mature plant. I got it from Crystal Star Nursery last year, June, during the Ontario plant show. It already had, I think, at least 2 or 3 peduncles, and it was already blooming when I got it. And it is like an incredible bloomer. It has bloomed consistently since I've had it. But one of the ways I failed this plant is that I don't water it often. This plant is extremely thirsty. And so if I kept on top of the watering the way I should, it would bloom way more. And I will go through phases when I'm really watering this plant and then I cannot get to it in time. And the reason I don't get to it in time is because this is such an easygoing plant that I stick it in a place that's a little bit hard to reach. That's what always happens with it. Look at these incredible blooms. And this is the first time ever since it's bloomed that I can actually smell them. So for a year, almost a year, like we're the end of April, so what, for the past 10 months, this plant blooms at least maybe once every 2 months or 3 months. It will get to this point, and I could never smell the blooms. I would stick my nose up day or night. I could never smell anything. And this year, or this time, this round of blooms is what I should say, because it's already bloomed for 2025. I was in my plant room. I'm like, that's a new smell. I can smell some of my other Hoya, but this is a new scent. And so it's this one. It finally bloomed with a scent. And what does it smell like? I would say it smells like roses. All the other Hoya have a very sweet scent. It's almost like a cut your throat. It's so sweet scent. This one is more of a very delicate, polite, light rose, red rose type scent. That's the best way I can describe it or liken it. So these ones haven't opened yet. And I was mentioning just now that this peduncle seems like it's yellowing and I'm gonna lose it, which is so bizarre. I don't often lose peduncles on this plant, but you can see a lot of damage here. Some of it is pest damage, but some of the other bits of damage is that I had it too close to the grow light. Yeah, I think Sansi grow lights are amazing for sun stressing and helping your Hoya to bloom. And so I think for a second, the light was just a little bit too close and it scarred a bunch of the leaves. Remember how my other plant had over 15 peduncles? This one is like, look at these two. 1, 2, another one in the back here. This one here, can you see it? 3, big one here that just got used up. 4, where my finger is touching. There's one inside here. 5, there's 2, like there's one on this new vine here, one at the top here. 7, this one that might be yellowing, it seems. 8, one inside. 9, like 10 at this tiny one here that's starting to, like, seriously, this plant is, and that's not even all, there are more, but I wouldn't bore you with counting them. Like I said, that kicks off my peduncle pusher. So that's my biggest, well, one of my biggest peduncle pushers for the month. And here's an update on last month's biggest peduncle pusher. You want to see this? So last month's MVP and biggest peduncle pusher was this guy. This is my Hoya Rangan. Remember in that video, someone commented that their Rangan did the same thing, pushed like a bunch of peduncles and then croaked. And so a part of me had thought, that's what I was thinking of as I was filming that video and looking at all the peduncles, but no, it did not. Check out these beautiful blooms. It's blooming. It's doing it. Like, look under here. let me show you without trying to knock them off. And honestly, they look super delicate. So these are some of the more delicate flowers I've ever seen. They honestly look like if you tap the plant too hard, all of them are just gonna fall off. Honestly, they're not like that. They look that way, but they're not really that way. It's so cute. And it has been pushing out new leaves. So this is actually a brand new leaf. And this is also a brand new leaf. This is all since last month when I shared this. Another new leaf here. So I think these are the only 2 leaves that are on it. New leaves, I should say, at the moment. So I think it's going to keep pushing new leaves from there. It does like it's going to push new leaves, but it's in its peduncle era. Okay, it's blooming era. So here's a trick. So here's something that I don't think I shared this trick in the last video when I talked about this plant, but here's what I do. Did I? I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but when my Hoya are pushing peduncles, a trick that I've learned or something that I've realized is that you should never let the plant dry out. I've said this a million times. I've shouted it off rooftops. Hoya do not like to dry out. They can tolerate drying out. I know someone's going to disagree in the comment section. Because something can tolerate it doesn't mean it likes it. They can tolerate drying out. They perform better when they're not allowed to. But even more so when they have peduncles. Basically, they're pregnant. I'm just going to call it that. They're pregnant with peduncles. They really need a little extra love. So what I do with this plant, because it is a slow grower, that's just its style. It's not the fastest of all my Hoya. Like I've said before, because of this, it uses up the reservoir much, much slower. So what I do is halfway in the week, when I notice that maybe the blooms are, oh, they smell so good. Maybe when the blooms are sort of, let me show you, when they look like they're about to open up. So when they're like closed like this, I've noticed that if I just top it up, give it a little bit of water, because it's in semi-hydro, it can tolerate being top watered. If I just top it up just a little bit or toss out the water and refresh it entirely, when I do that, that is when my blooms will open. And also, let's say you have a Hoya that's attempting to push out a mature peduncle, do not let the plant dry out. Another plant is my Hoya Sunrise. Last month, I showed you that it was pushing peduncles, but I let it dry out a little too much. It's in my south-facing window. It's not that I let the reservoir go completely dry. It's just that I took too long before I replenished it and I lost 2 peduncles. So again, the moral of the story is refresh the water, top it up. I mean, they don't need it, but if you want your Hoya to perform at its best, if you're looking for those peduncles, you're looking for it to bloom, you want to put in that little extra effort to get in return a little bit extra from your plant, try those little tips. If you're just growing it, you just want it to be alive, you just wanted to push leaves whenever, wherever, whatever, you don't care, you just like staring at it once in a while, then you don't have to do all these steps. This is just for my viewers who want a little bit extra out of their Hoya. I got you. You could try it out. Let me know how it works for you in the comment section. Only do this, by the way, if the plant is in semi-hydro, only top water at that point. If it's in a chunky mix, soil, anything other than that, and it's in self-watering, bottom water. So only refill the reservoir. Do not water from the top. If your plant is in soil or in a regular pot, not in self-watering, I'm so sorry. I'm not familiar with how to care for Hoya that way. That is not my forte. I'm not going to speak on something I'm not skilled on. Like that's not, I honestly don't know. So you're going to have to do that, figure that one out carefully. But if you're in self-watering or in semi-hydro, try it out. Be careful though, don't overwater, but let me know how it goes. Again, never let it sit in water. You're just refreshing the water, okay? All right, how's the scent? It smells like a mix between the Hoya Heuchkeliana Super Silver, you know, like Laconosa types, that very strong, cut your throat, sweet candy scent, and the rose floral scent, like I told you about the Hoya Patricia. It's like a cross between those two, but closer to the scent of the Patricia. Yeah, closer to, I think these are sort of they're fading out a little bit, but yeah, so the scent isn't as strong anymore. But anyways, it's still pushing peduncles and it's still trying people. This is gonna get the Overachiever Award. This plant is just extra. Okay, so we're talking about peduncle pushers. This is my Hoya Tequila Sunrise. This is actually one of the plants I wanted to talk about as a comeback this month, but I decided to keep it in the peduncle pusher category because it's pushing the tiniest peduncle. It probably won't even be able to show on camera, but right between here is pushing a peduncle. And yes, I want to celebrate that tiny little peduncle because, like I said, this plant for a long time did nothing for me. I got this plant in January of 2024 as a one-leafed cutting. And at the time, I wasn't even sure if it was a Tequila Sunrise until it started to finally push out more leaves. So I think when I got it, this was the onlyest leaf that it had. And I trusted that this was a Tequila Sunrise. And then in the year that I've had it, it hasn't done a whole lot. So it pushed out this, and then like it pushed out a couple other leaves when I put it under grow lights. That's when this thing started growing. And let me tell you, this plant, when the new leaves come out and it's done stressing, it is gorgeous. Gorgeous. I'll insert a picture I posted on Instagram a couple months ago when this was under, was it Barina? I think it was under Barina lights, and that's what it did. It was very close up under the lights. Right now it lives in my south facing window. It pushed out this long vine here. I wrapped it around, and in one go we're getting, so these leaves I think hardened off maybe under grow lights, but we're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, see more new leaves here, 5, 6, 2 baby ones here, and then more coming out in here from in this socket here. And then that beautiful peduncle. So you can tell that I was itching to talk to you about this plant. So proud of it. It went from a one leaf, I'm not even sure, I almost tossed it in the garbage because I thought I got swindled. And then now we have the most beautiful bunch of leaves on this plant, and I'm thrilled for the summer and this plant. And I think I figured it out. We've got roots coming out of the reservoir. It's in my DIY mix. Again, another Hoya. When you notice your Hoya are slow, say it again, refresh the reservoir. This is mostly for self-watering. In anything else, I have no idea. I'm so sorry. But if they're not growing, refresh that reservoir, top it up, give it some nice fresh water, give it a little love, rinse the leaves, do a little something, zhuzh it up. It's gonna grow for you. It's gonna grow for you, trust me. Okay, so it's time for the MVP. I've lost my sunshine. I've been talking so much. My lights are going out. I'm getting subtle hints here, people. I'm not done yet. Just give me a minute. I feel like it's still super dark. All right, let's get to the last one. So the last one, the MVP, is a Hoya that I don't talk about a lot on my channel, and I have no idea why I don't talk about this plant more. But this is my Hoya Laconosa. I think it's a Bruno, but it's basically an inner variegated Laconosa. I'll put the official name down on the screen. And this plant is one that has been in my collection for, June will be 1 year. So it's been in my collection for 10 months. And sometimes I guess my expectations can be a little bit high when it comes to speed of growth, but for 10 months, this isn't bad. Like, this is pretty good. So I got this from the Ontario Plant Show in June of 2024. I have a picture of what it looked like when I first got it. From here to here, it was maybe this long when I got it. For a hot second, I thought I was going to lose this plant just because it was a little bit finicky. When I got it, it was semi-rooted. I got it from the prop studio. It wasn't fully rooted when I got it. It was still very juvenile. It was still really young. I didn't realize that it was still so, it still needed a lot of coddling because it's so highly variegated. So because of all of this variegation, it takes a long time to get rooted. It takes a long time to get established and then to start growing from there. So I think I lost a couple of leaves in the beginning because I had only been collecting Hoya for a couple of months. I was just dipping my toes into the variegated and uncommon Hoya. What I think this plant loves is high humidity so that it can push out those aerial roots and really get established and blast it with light. I don't even think it's possible to burn these leaves. I mean, it probably is, but let's be real. Like, with this level of variegation, it's like, yeah, give it all that you got. Give it everything. I had it growing under Sansi grow lights, and that's when it pushed out like the most beautiful new leaves. The new ones come out with this beautiful bubblegum pinkish reddish color, and they are super cute. I recently switched them to Barinas. They're still growing. They're growing nicely, but not sun stressing like they did under the Sansi lights. But I'm just happy that it's growing. And so I have it growing in pot, and it's in a self-watering pot, like I mentioned, like all my Hoya. It's really important to, like, you know, like I said, stay on top of the watering. I try not to let it dry out. It's actually really easy once it's established. And something I've noticed it started doing, so it pushed out this random branch here, but it has started to branch itself out. So it's pushed out a new branch down here. As I go, I've noticed that it pushed out another new branch here. The new branches, for some reason, are not as variegated. For some reason, maybe I'm not giving it enough light. Right now it's under a Barina light. But for some reason, these are coming out super green. And then again, another branch coming out, again, super green leaves. And then another branch over here, you know, a little bit on the greener side too. So not quite sure what's happening here. But then the top with all the new, where the end of the vine is, look at that. We've got this beautiful variegation. This is what's closer to the grow light. So doesn't that make so much more sense? That is this little sweetheart. I just think the leaves are so cute. It's so dainty. It's just adorable. The watercolored look to the leaves. I really like it. I knew when I bought it, I was in way over my head. I was just like, Stephanie, you're gonna lose this in a minute, like 20 minutes, this will be gone. I'm really surprised that it's lasted this long, but I think it's lasted this long because of grow lights. Honestly, if you want to get into uncommon Hoya, especially variegated Hoya, you need to invest in some grow lights. These plants are not gonna do well in a windowsill unless you live in Florida. Like if you live in all the sunny in the tropics, in, you know, a very sunny, hot, humid, like not like Canada, then you'll be fine. That is my MVP, my most valuable plant. That's it. And that's it for today's video. But for now, I just wanted to capture these Hoya. Again, thank you so much for being here, for liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting. I see every single one of you whenever you say hi to me in the comment section. Thank you so much for doing that. 30 days of Hoya is coming up, so subscribe if you want to get access, if you want to see all these Hoya that I'm going to talk about this month. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.